Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Car Stories. In this one, we're here with Oz with his bonkers 992 GT3 RS. It's amazing. So in this one, let's learn about his journey to this car and let's meet him.
Alexa, garage lights on.
Okay.
So Oz, thank you very much for agreeing to do an episode of Car Stories. I don't even know where to begin here. This is such an amazing car, hard to get a hold of, but you have it. But before we get to it, we probably want to learn about the journey to this car, right?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. And quite frankly, if you asked me 5 years ago if this would be sitting in my garage, I would have not believed you because I didn't even have a Porsche. I started with a 992 during the pandemic. There's something happened in my life which sort of was a reminder of mortality and also a reminder that you shouldn't wait to enjoy things that you care about a lot. And it was a very tough time. And after that, decided, hey, I'm going to go enjoy myself. And I got very lucky. COVID came in and all the dealerships shut down. And I started to hunt for a 991. And I walked into a Porsche dealership and they had a brand new 992 that an owner had walked away from. This was the first week that they'd opened up after the pandemic. And nobody knew what was going to happen. And they actually gave me a discount on that car.
No way.
And if you know anything about what happened with prices after that, it just completely blew up.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting entry point into Porsches. And it was a Carrera S and red. It was red. It was carmine red. I really liked carmine red, still do, as a color. And that's the car I got my feet wet with. I got the car and then my brother already had a 991, a beautiful blue one. He is the guy that really triggered the, hey, we should go get a Porsche. He always takes the first step. My younger brother, he's 18 months younger, and he's been a huge part of my car journey. And he went and he got the first 991. Anyway, so I was like, all right, it's my turn. And once I had the car, I was like, okay, what do I do with this? You can take the kids for ice cream only so many times. I joined the local Porsche club, Porsche True North. Went to my first rally, car meet, and then rally, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And soon enough, it hit my first track day with that car, which was, I had no idea what I was doing. The instructor actually yelled at me. I think the words, what are you doing, were used. And
I'm driving.
yeah, exactly. And it just grew from there. I just learned that car. I learned how to go fast in it at Mosport and a few other tracks, and one thing led to the next, and everyone talked about GT cars, and I was like, something with a wing, something faster, and so I wanted a GT car, and those were really hard to get at that time. And I was able to get my hands on a 992 Turbo S, and that was a very special car. I still miss it. A lot of people that are into naturally aspirated cars, they're dismissive of turbo cars, but this thing was bonkers. We delivered it in Germany with a European delivery. My brother and I went. Again, like I said, been a big part of my car journey.
That's amazing.
And you can't do these things without a really supportive spouse. And she was like, go do your thing.
That's amazing, eh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Honestly, I could not have this life without her being such a huge support. But we went to Europe. We were there 10 days. We delivered this gorgeous Carmine Red Turbo S in Stuttgart. We drove it down through the Alps, through the Dolomites, to Lake Como. We broke it in on the way back to the Nordschleife and at the Nürburgring. Did a 2-day track day there. Learned that car and its crazy amounts of speed. And then, cherry on top, took it to Spa right after. Towards the end of the day, there wasn't much that was catching the car other than proper race cars. I had that car for about 18 months. And it was a car that actually took the driving experience to the next level because you're managing crazy amounts of horsepower, crazy amounts of speed. The 992 Turbo S can corner. You do an alignment. I like to say this. You do an alignment, you put sticky tires on it, you change the exhaust, and it's a completely different car.
Yeah.
And so that is what got me going really fast around Mosport. And we had a phenomenal conversation with Porsche Center Vaughn and my boy JR, shout out to him. And we were like, let's make an RS happen. And they did.
That's amazing.
And
voila.
Unbelievable.
We'll get into the details of this because there's a lot you've done to it as well, like you said, the alignment and things like that. Before you jumped into all of this, into the Porsche world, and it's a very short period of time that you've been able to progress from a Carrera S to a GT3 RS. Were Porsches always something that you looked out to attain? Were they other?
We always start with BMWs. We always start out with BMWs, and I still love BMWs as a brand and tremendously respect it. When I saw my first Porsche when I was younger, I was like, feels a little bit small.
Yeah.
What's all the fuss about? Look at this giant M8, which looks, crazy intimidating. And maybe I didn't understand the sort of, the dynamics of vehicles back then and how, power to weight ratios matter.
Yeah.
But the E46 M3 is still, GOAT. I need one in my garage at some point.
Where are you going to fit it?
I have no idea. We're gonna need a bigger house. I remember he asked my brother for garage space. And so that was the car for me. But then I experienced in university, there was this guy who was really doing well and still is. And he was one of the few people that had a GT3 RS at the time, brand new 997 GT3 RS. And he had a 997 GT2 as well. Nice. And I happened to go to the track with him, and I was just hooked. I was just blown away by how good those cars were. I remember giggling like a little boy at the first track ride that I got because of the G-forces and what you feel. And I was like, someday I'm going to do this. And you go the professional route and don't open your own business. It sometimes feels you're not going to get there, and it's been very fortunate.
It's amazing because you took that experience. It created that vision for where you want it to be. You're here, and now you probably plant the seed with your kids, and hopefully they jump in and do these things as well, no?
Hopefully, yeah. It's funny, right? Like they could take a lot of things for granted because they just grow up around them, and it's true. It's normal, but they definitely appreciate the car. In the Turbo S, I could pile all three of them in. That was one of the huge advantages of that car. Now they fight over who's going to go with me in the GT3 RS.
That's true. You don't have those back seats.
No more back seats, and they either have to call it or someone has to be extra good in order to get the co-pilot seat. And
pretty soon they'll be taking this off.
I don't think so. But
Dad, you stay home.
Oh man, I rode the bus to my early 20s. You have to earn these things.
I agree.
Yeah.
Keep them grounded.
That's right. That's right.
So let's jump into this car then. So 992 GT3 RS. Let's talk about the spec and what all you've done to the car.
And then in an ideal scenario, I'd wanted a paint to sample car or a CXX car. Mm-hmm. And those are no fault of anyone's. Those are just challenging because of supply chain, scheduling, chassis scheduling, and all that sort of stuff. And timing starts to slip. So we're like, all right, what can we do with the limited color palette that we have? And I work with this great designer named Anthony, Carrera Design on Instagram. He works with a lot of racing teams and he does beautiful liveries and designs. And he'd actually spec my Turbo S with me as well.
Oh, nice.
And so we went through a couple of designs with what we could do on the stock color palette, and we landed on the 992 GT3R color palette, which is a black car with red accents and essentially silver on it. And so that's a design that we landed. And so when the car came, there was a lot of logistical planning because it had to get PPF, you had to have the livery put on, and get it ready for delivery in a very short period of time because I was just dying of impatience. And so some brilliant people were extremely helpful, including my dealership.
Because you didn't want to see the car
I didn't want to see it
until it was all done.
No, the first time I saw it was when the unveiling was done and the sheet was pulled off of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It looks super good with all the numbers, the red accents. What's the significance of the number 8?
I was born on the 8th. And generally, when I look at patterns in my life, it just shows up
That's amazing.
everywhere. And a lot of people, when they see the car driving around, they might think I'm from a different culture because of the significance of number 8. But hey, it's fortunate for a lot of people.
My wife is all about number 8.
There you go. So she'll love this.
That's amazing. Spec-wise, WISAC.
Yes. So the car has WISAC. I pretty much checked most boxes. I think there were a couple that I left out that were just like, do you want the air vents to be in leather in a specific color? In hindsight, I should have just done it because I think that would have been cooler. But anyway, it's basically WISAC, carbon ceramic brakes that comes with magnesium wheels, exposed carbon, some lightweight treatment. And then what we did to the car after, honestly, not a crazy amount. We put in an Acropovic exhaust system in. Not the full, but partial Acra. Interestingly enough, this car doesn't have any OPF filters, which were coming in a lot of the 23s. So it's got the nice flowing cats, and when you combine that with Acropovic, it sounds great. We put in a Cantrell roll cage, and Schroth harnesses, because the G-forces in this car on the track, you're hitting, max G's it's above 2. And so when I come home from a track day, in the Turbo S, I'd be just flying around in the seat, right? And like the left side of your body, especially your posterior, is quite sore.
Yes.
And this thing with the harnesses, even then you get a little bit sore, but you need it to keep you held, stay planted and keep you held in place. We put on Trofeo RS tires, which is the next generation Pirelli Trofeo tire. Did phenomenal at the last track day we were at. A second in change from the production car lap record at Mosport. It goes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Even just the progression over the 3-4 years, starting track day, never doing it.
Apparently I can drive a little bit. A little bit. Nowhere near as good as pros. I can hold my own.
That's amazing.
And we did a slightly aggressive track alignment. And so there's camber plates in there to give it that lateral bite.
And you notice a huge difference when you do the alignment from what it was from factory, or?
Massive, because the car becomes a lot lighter on the steering wheel. The turn-in is very sharp and very immediate. In fact, you can even feel it when you go over a bump. When you're driving over the road, like you feel the steering wheel just react to it instantaneously. Even more. Stock alignments are generally designed to understeer a little bit to stay safe on the road.
Yeah.
When you do a proper full track alignment, it just makes the car a little bit more darty, especially because in light of all the lateral G-forces that you take.
That's amazing. One of the party pieces with this car is the coilover system. In dash, you have all these knobs and controls to adjust compression and rebound and things like that. Have you been playing around with that?
I play with compression.
Okay.
So at a track like Mosport, which is quite bumpy, there's patches where they've done some paving, and so the track will bump just a little bit, especially on turn 1, on turn 2. And I think just a little bit of extra compression helps. I'm not messing around with rebound, traction control, or torque vectoring. Actually, I did move those up just a tiny notch. And I felt the car to be a little bit more aligned to how I like it. Here's hoping somebody who really understands this stuff will sit down with me at the track one day.
Yeah.
There's so much in the car. There's so much complexity in the car. Also, the difference with this car is versus the Turbo S, I could get into the high mid-20s with that. This will go into the low 20s. For reference, at Mosport, a minute 22 is a lap record. It's a different style of driving. It's a momentum car. You keep the speed up, you use the aero, you take the corners really hard, which is very different from the Turbo S, where you're just hammering it from corner exit to the entry of the next corner, braking hard, and then just like hammering it out of the corner.
That's true.
Yeah.
Make it, a lot of torque on that one, so
that's right.
You can pull off.
That's right.
Those type of things.
Yeah. So you find the time using the torque on that one. On this one, you find the time just like trusting the aero and praying to God.
I bet you carry a lot more speed through the corners with this car.
You do.
It doesn't have that.
Going back to the videos, so it's just insane. Just flying into the entry of turn 2 at 200 is Like
That's amazing.
it's a moment of concentration that is just, and this is what this car brings out. When you're driving this car close to its limit or at its limit, or even close to your own limit, the level of concentration makes the world disappear.
Yeah.
Nothing else exists.
It's just you and the machine.
It's just you and the machine. Nothing else can enter your thoughts. It's full concentration, and any lapse in concentration can have very serious consequences for you, which is why I like tracking so much.
Yeah.
Because it is the ultimate expression of concentration and focus and reflexes.
When you're on track, taking a beast like this, amount of value it is, does it stress you out that, oh my God, something happens, this is a whole lot of...
You have to have some degree of reckless faith in order to do this. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that show up that don't push, and I think that's perfectly fine. I respect that. You're not getting a trophy from the track, right? You go there to have fun. You have to be safe. You're not getting a trophy for your lap time. You're not getting a trophy for passing people, and it's easy to get carried away. And I think the most important thing to remember is like you're out to enjoy yourself and have fun. And if fun is just pushing the car, then that's what fun is.
And you're in a safe environment.
Yeah.
And it's more of an educational event where you're learning about the limits of the car. So when you are on street, you know what to expect in certain ways, right?
In my opinion, hitting 250 on a back road and hitting a bump that you don't anticipate and having the car go airborne and wrap it around a tree and kill yourself, that is more dangerous than being on the track.
I 100% agree. You were mentioning this car is packed with features and capabilities. And if you had to pick top 3 things that make this car special to you, that makes you want to get in and drive, what would those 3 be?
A lot of it has to do with how well the suspension and the steering is set up. The chassis communicates to you. Unlike the previous cars that I've owned, I know exactly where every wheel is. You feel completely in tune with where the vehicle is and where it's going. That's the first one. And the adjustability in that is a very interesting thing. You won't feel it that much on the street, but adjusting the settings a little bit on the track, you will feel the difference in communication. So driver communication is number 1. Number 2, there is magic in that naturally aspirated engine. All right, like when it revs out to 9,000 RPM and you just hear it go, and especially when you have it in track mode and you see the lights go up all the way from 8,000 to 9,000 RPM, and you get that optimal shift. It is just so satisfying. That downshift, boom. There's a lot of soul and passion in that.
You get that tingly feeling through your spine when it hits that high RPM.
And but 2024, 500 horsepower is just okay, cool story, bro. Like our daily Taycan has 500 horsepower, right? To elicit that kind of response for 500 horsepower is crazy.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I think that's very cool is the aero. And I don't know how I would rank all of those. I think the feelings of passion come from the first 2, but the aero is the secret sauce. It just glues the car to the tarmac, and it's incredible. You even feel the difference when you enable DRS on a long straight. So it's all those 3 things combined. It's a special car.
It's unlike any other car or supercar for that matter on the streets, I would say.
No, I think the only super/hypercar that comes close is the McLaren Senna as far as aero goes. But then the horsepower on that is crazy.
Yeah. And the price.
That's the other. The price is also insane. That's the other car brand that I have a lot of respect for because they make beautiful, well-engineered vehicles. McLaren owners might get mad if I say reliability tends to be a challenge, but I don't have any friend that's not complained about theirs. Maybe with the exception of one, maybe. Yeah.
But then you take a car like this and you take it in and they treat it just like a regular 911, and the amount of, I don't know, with all the aero, what the maintenance is going to be like.
Look, things go wrong in every car brand, but the general experience with Porsches, because there's so many at the track, and this is my 5th year of really just taking full advantage of a 911 or 911 platform. I've never had significant issues. You do hear about things happening from time to time. I think the 992 RSs, they have an oil leak problem, which has led to some engine issues. No brand is perfect. But generally speaking, all these years observing them, like you change the brakes, you change the fluids, you check everything, and they just deliver. Yeah. They're workhorses.
I agree. Take it to the track, drive it back, park it, rinse, repeat.
Yeah. How many cars can you drive to the track, do a low 20 in Mosport, and then drive back without putting into a trailer?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I agree.
Yeah.
that leads me to the next question. You've attained the GT3 RS. Would you consider this a forever car?
I wish every car I had was a forever car.
Yeah.
I still miss the Carrera S. I miss the Turbo S, and I hope I get to keep this forever. But there's something called car ADD, and it's a very real thing. But it would, it would take a lot to make this car go away.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the power of the aero and the chassis plus a 2RS engine could be interesting.
Well,
but you're not going to get the rev to 9,000. And so in an ideal world, you just keep collecting. I understand why people become car collectors.
Yeah. You don't want to let any of these go. It's
Right,
just a different
exactly. And then
experience.
you're looking at more expensive. Let's get a bigger house so that you can have more cars. How does that make any sense?
The GT2 RS is a turbo
That's right.
with a bunch of aero.
With a bunch of aero and lighter than turbo. The interesting thing with the 991.2 is it really takes a very competent driver to push them at their limits. They can really bite you.
Yeah.
The torque and power in these plus the previous generation RS is very manageable.
Yeah.
Corner exit, you're not liable to just over torque it and make the car spin. Even on the street, you're less liable to make the car oversteer. Whereas with the 2RS, I've seen it happen leaving car meets. You just rear wheels.
The pendulum effect
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, the pendulum effect. The car gets away from you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to keep this forever.
Yeah. If you had to aspire to something beyond this, what would it be? Other than the GT2 RS, which we just mentioned, but
Honestly, people own a lot of exotic cars, and there's a tendency to want to collect I'll call it the family fleet. We have a Ferrari in there.
there you go.
Yeah, and I'm a simple guy. I'm happy with Porsches.
Yeah.
Maybe a 765 could be very interesting. I'd love to have one of those.
Get your brother to get it.
Exactly. Yeah, because I think they're really well made special cars, especially the LT ones. But I'm happy with Porsche Engine Era with the simplicity of it, and there's only so much car that you need to do before it takes over your life. And with everything, I think I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah. Maybe I'll end with one last question. How do you feel about Porsche introducing these hybrid elements into the powertrain?
I am not diametrically opposed to it. The weight thing, which was already an issue for the Turbo S, getting worse is a bit of a concern. The sound keeps getting worse, but it does solve for the turbo lag. I've been reading and watching stuff where the responsiveness of the car becomes a lot more. Yeah. And if you still get good sound, I think that's cool. But if the sound degrades to a tremendous level, that's an issue. For me, it's like some of the touches the introduction of the shaver on the 992 and the loss of the turnkey on the 992.2. I think those are equally as bad. Yeah. I think those are worse than worrying about the hybrid powertrain. It's true. Everything is going to hybrid. There's no turning back from it, and the future 911 will take that form factor. And so just how the turbos on the 991.2, everyone was like, oh my God, it lost and all. These changes are going to come and continue, but it makes the cars from previous generations more special. It makes the 997 special. It makes the 991 special. It makes this naturally aspirated pinnacle of aero and NA horsepower specials. You know,
when we saw the 991.2 GT3 RS, we're like, that's bonkers. And we didn't think they could go beyond that.
Here we are.
Yeah. It's unreal.
Here we are.
Oz, thank you so much for taking the time out and doing this with us. We had to come out to Toronto to catch him in the action here. They're doing a bunch of track day sessions next week, but unfortunately I won't be around for that. I might try.
Yeah, look, if you can make it out, it's good.
See it in full tilt.
Yeah, see it in full tilt and take some G's.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for spending the time with me in this car.
I hope you all enjoyed this one as well. If you did, subscribe, do all those things, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.